Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Life Paranormal Research Podcast. I'm your host, Russell Reynolds. My guest tonight had to reschedule due to some personal issues. So he will be on at a later date. So I figured I'd come on and let you guys in the chat room pick my brain on the paranormal, on some stuff we've got going on with Raven's Eye Paranormal and stuff. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them up in the chat, and I'll try to answer them the best of my knowledge. So let's see who we got on. We got two viewing now. So like I said, feel free to put them up in the chat, and it's you guys, the audience, that'll be able to ask me questions. It's all about you guys, so feel free to pick my brain on anything you want, whether it be paranormal, demonic, paracons we've got going on. So fire away. But I can tell you we are at a paracon next weekend called Transcendence in Columbia, Missouri. Myself, Raven's Eye Paranormal, Omega Paranormal Investigations will all be there. Um, Myself, I'll be guest speaking with my father at 11 o'clock on Saturday. We're going to be talking about paranormal research in depth, like the processes of it, especially for like newer investigators. And with the new investigators that want to get into residential or paranormal in general. Hello, Carol. Linda, what do you think is going to happen on April 8th with the total solar eclipse? It's probably going to spark up a lot of activity. Usually, eclipses do it with all the energy shift with the eclipse. It pretty much kicks up paranormal activity in people's homes and stuff. Um, Also, we are booked for a Paracon towards the end of April in St. Joe, Missouri Omnia events. We will be there with L&M Paranormal, who was my guest last week. Uh, Supernatural Inc. will be there. Katie Stafford, Katie, and Brandon. Omega Paranormal will be there. Raven's Eye Paranormal will be there. So it should be a pretty good convention there too. Um, so yeah, feel free to keep posting questions in the chat. We're getting ready to go out on an investigation tomorrow night to go help a family in Missouri here. I can't dive too much into it because of confidentiality, but we're going to be out there tomorrow night. We will be live on our Facebook page, Beyond Life Paranormal Research Missouri. That's actually a good question, Linda. Is the Mercury retrograde going to affect the total eclipse? It could. I mean, I'm not really an astrologist as far as that, but it possibly could. But I know it will pick up some paranormal activity, and I know we got some weather coming in as well. They were talking about in the Sunday, so here in Missouri. So yeah, Yeah, like I was saying about transcendence, will also be guest speaking about equipment methods for paranormal research, as well as demonology and stuff like that. I am not a demonologist, but I am mentored by a demonologist for 40 plus years as far as demonic goes. So, because we deal with a lot of it. Oh, neat. That'll definitely be awesome to see, especially if you got a telescope. But yeah, we're pretty much booked up for the whole year. Beyond Life Paranormal Research, we've got a lot going on this year. As far as investigations, we're booked for two Paracons in September. One first weekend in September in St. Joe, we're booked for one. And then towards the end of September, we're booked for Bordertown Paranormal's Paracon in Kansas. See if you got any more questions. Nothing yet. Keep firing them, guys. But yeah. So if you're interested, come check us out at the Paracon next weekend. Transcendence in Columbia, Missouri, at the Hampton Inn. Doors open at 10 o'clock. We are the speakers at 11, and then Raven's Eye will also be guest speaking. Also, they'll be doing paranormal 101 is their topic, and then the moniker cat poop is their other topic. And there is a joke with that with Raven's Eye with that. So you'll have to come and check that out and listen on what the joke is on that. So see who else we get on. There's five you now. Like I said, feel free to keep posting questions in the chat. It's all about you guys. You guys can pick my brain on the paranormal, demonic, equipment, whatever you feel you want to do. So but that's neat. It starts in Texas at 1:27 Central Time and ends in Maine. Oh, that's neat. Definitely have to check that out if our weather holds up here in Missouri. Because, like I said, I know we're supposed to get some storms rolling in the next week because it's getting that rainy season here in Missouri. Because we're in our tornado season too, this around this time of the month too. My favorite piece of equipment to use on an investigation, a lot of it is my senses. Hey, Julie, welcome in. I like to use my senses, like sit in a room when it's dark, just listen to the atmosphere, listen to the sounds before I go to like my millimeter and stuff. And I'll run my digital recorder while I'm doing it. And a lot of times, even on investigations, if you're just having a normal conversation, a lot of times you get EVPs off of that. We found like when we're interviewing clients that we will get EVPs from people just like interjecting in our conversations and stuff. It's actually pretty neat. So that, and then my millimeter is my kind of my go-to because it's not like the K2 meter. Like the K2 meter will pick up a lot of electrical interference, like circuit breakers, your socket. It'll pick up internet connections. Um, Millimeter, not so much. It will pick up an electrical box. I mean, if you got high EMF coming off a circuit breaker, it's going to pick it up. The REM pods is another little tricky thing because they work off of CB frequency. So if you're talking on a walkie-talkie, you're going to set your REM pod off, and it's also going to spike your millimeter up or your K2. So you got to be very careful with K2s. What I like to do is I will set them on a table and I will back well away from them so there's no electrical interference for me. So that way, if they do go off, then you may possibly have something if you're not getting a high EMF field from electricity. I'm not exactly sure what that is, Linda, a CV frequency. I'm talking about CB, like CB radios. Oh, neat. Yeah, I mean, you can because I mean it's just like having a natural conversation like they did when they were alive. Yeah, like CB radios like the truckers use in their trucks and then walkie-talkies. Your millimeters and REM pods will spike up to those. We tested that theory out in an investigation one time. We were at a house and one of the members had called us on the walkie-talkie and then the REM pod went off and he goes, "Is that the REM pod going off?" And I said, "Yeah." And then we squeezed the button to test the theory and it went off. I mean, that's like a TV. If you've seen that one episode of Tap where they had done a house, a TV actually went off when they squeezed the walkie-talkie button. It was like a remote that kicked the TV on and then kicked it back off. Yeah, it's they use a very low frequency. Like when we analyze our EVPs, I use a program called WavePad, and we try to look for. It's got the wavelengths of all the like communication. You can tell like a human is a higher frequency, and then your paranormal is a lower frequency. You'll watch the lines kind of drop down below, and usually we try to look for that. That's how we do our EVPs, and then you can kind of amplify them to kind of get what they're saying. Stuff like the movie theater we did, I got about 20 to 30 Class A EVPs out of that place. And so that's what I kind of used for that to analyze them as the wavepad so you can see the waveforms of what communication they're doing when you're uploading the audio. Same with like a digital camera, video camera that you use for filming. You can take that audio and put it through WavePad and analyze it through that, and it'll show you your wave frequencies and stuff. We've even tried ultra ultrasound frequencies too to see if they can communicate through that as well. And we haven't had any luck so far with it, but it's all trial and error when it comes to the paranormal. I mean, that's why there's no professionals. Uh, yeah, we have. We did an investigation with Raven's Eye in someone's house, and Julie's a medium, so she can channel. So we actually were recording that. We were filming that. We like to do the Estes method quite a bit too when we're on an investigation as well. Um, and those seem pretty useful when it comes to that. Like you can see a video if you go to my lead investigator Jen Dorello's page. There is a video where we do the Estes method. It's myself, Julie, and Jen, and Julie and I are asking questions, and we got some compelling evidence off of that, where you can hear a growl. You can also you'll hear bangs, and you'll actually see us react to it in the video. We'll turn and look, in the direction that it came from. Yeah, I mean, they are as far as because they say that a ghost doesn't have vocal cords anymore, so that's why they're kind of a low frequency. Is what some scientists say that they don't have a vocal pattern anymore, vocal cords that like you and I do that we can talk at a higher level. And I mean, some stuff is residual. I mean, it's something that they did when they were alive. It's just like replaying over and over. Like you go and remodel a house, say there was a doorway at that wall and you just got rid of the door and put that wall. If that spirit was used to that doorway, he's just gonna walk through it back and forth and he's not gonna know you're there. I mean you'll see him but they won't interact with you, they won't communicate with you. It's like playing a record over and over again when it comes to that. That's why they're pretty much a low frequency. Yeah, frequency is a measurement of wave like a magnetic wave. I mean, that's why we use EMF detectors for electrical magnetic fields. They say that ghosts are made up of sometimes is what they say, but I mean, I've had some where like on my millimeter and stuff when in a field that I just picked up spikes for no reason when there's no electrical around. So and this is actually an old Mormon massacre site where we picked this up. And if you go on my TikTok page, Beyond Life Paranormal Research Missouri, BLPRMO on TikTok, you can see that video of when we were down at Hans Mill and my millimeter and REM pod were going off at absolutely nothing because it's just an open field down there. But we are also made up of electromagnetic fields also because of our brain waves. Our spinal column, when it feeds to our brain waves, is also electrical pulse. So we give off a faint EMF. That is a good question, Linda. Yeah, it can. Random energy can be measured for a frequency. You just have to have the right equipment to do it when it comes to that. Did you see last week's when Spirit Connect show? There was something here in my home that growled when I did the Estes. Oh, wow. No, I missed it. I'll have to go back into replays on Supernatural Link and check it out. Were you guys able to determine what it was? Yeah, that is true, Linda. Muscles do, and your heart is a big muscle, yeah, because you're pumping amounts of blood to your bloodstream and through your body and stuff like that. But yeah, Carol, I'll have to check out the replay on that. Where- Yeah, Julie's right. Everything does have a frequency and vibration. And that's how a lot of mediums work too, as well. They work off the energy, what they're feeling and stuff, and that they get that vibration. Oh wow. I'm wondering if you were possibly maybe picking up on something darker and the archangel was coming through to make sure you guys were protected. That's what it could have possibly been is maybe like three something dark coming through. That's why it growled at you. Did you feel any heaviness or pressure when that did that? usually with your darker ones, you'll feel that heaviness, that pressure, uneasy feeling. 'Cause when we get called out on a demonic call, and if it is something demonic, you can actually feel it when you walk in their house. You'll get that pressure like it's hitting you in the chest. Yeah, ears ringing. To me, a lot of times when I walk in a house and I feel it, it feels like somebody took their fist and punched me straight between the eyes. We had got called in for a case, and this little girl was there was something right about her. She was only 4. She had been shook as an infant, had brain surgery, but her eyes were black. And she went up to my dad, don't even know him from Adam, and says, "You died and came back. They know who you are." Then she come up to me and looked me dead in the eyes, and it felt like somebody took their fist and punched me right between the eyes. Actually seeing a black looking thing in my home, and then it looked like something kicked out the window. Oh, wow. That's probably the angel kicking them out of there, telling them it don't belong there. How many of you out there ever heard of a Transgonian starseed? I know, Julie, you don't count because you were with us. Yeah, a Transgonian starseed is kind of like a reptilian creature. It's from the Earth. We actually had our first one we had to deal with. We were with Julian Raven's Eye on a case, and it was brought in. Julie, we were talking about that Transgonian starseed that we had to deal with in that house that we were. They are like a reptilian creature, and they're brought in for good, or they can be brought in for bad. On this particular case, it was brought in for bad. Yeah, more it's similar to like a dragon figure, yeah, but it's more like humanoid body is what we seen. We got a video of it. Carol, they're brought in. They can be brought in for good, or they can be brought in for bad. Yeah, like Julie said, they're in interdimensional. But it was actually pretty funny when we were doing that case, and the homeowners thought it was something demonic. So I started bringing up Jesus Christ and stuff in front of it to see what it would do, and it just kind of laughed. It's like I'm older than God. Yeah, I think they are similar to an elemental. Hi, Tracy. Welcome in. We're just chit chatting. My guest had to cancel tonight, so I figured I'd come on, talk to you guys, let you guys pick my brain on the paranormal and stuff like that. Ask me some questions. But yeah, when I mentioned it, it laughed, and then it said I'm older than God, and then it called me a funny little fucker, is what it called me. Yes, the stepdaughter actually had brought it in for harm, but we were able to actually get rid of it. We sent it back where it came from. Yeah, elementals are earth spirits. There's also elementals in Ireland as well, like Lemp Castle in Ireland. There's an elemental in that castle, but that one's not a friendly elemental. That one will harm you. There was an episode that Taps Ghost Hunters did where they went to Lemp Castle, and Dustin Perry was with another investigator, and the owner of this castle was leery about letting investigators in there because of that elemental. And so Dustin got you could smell the funky smell when it came in the room, and it ended up blowing right through Dustin and knocked him over backwards, knocked the wind out of him. Yeah, that Transgonian helped that there was an old guy that had been killed in a car accident and thought these people were his family, had been trapped there, so he helped cross him over and send him on his way. Yeah, probably would. I grew up in a haunted house also. I lived in a house that was haunted when I was 6 years old, so I saw my first ghost at 6. And the house was built in the 1800s, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, I seen a Civil War soldier apparition standing in my doorway of my bedroom looking at me. Oh, wow. Does she still experience a lot of stuff in that house? But, yeah, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, I heard a noise, and I had woken up, and it was standing there in my doorway, so I put the blankets over my head, figuring it'd go away, it's not real, and then got the curiosity to peek out again, and it was gone. But, I mean, that how strange things would happen all the time. You'd have a candle lit when the electric go out, and breeze come blowing through 'em, or the heat would get turned down in the middle of the night. My dad would wake up freezing thinking us kids played with the heat, but I was only 6 and my sister was 4. So, it wasn't us, we couldn't reach the thermostat, and then things would move around the house all the time. I wonder if they've gotten used to your mom, maybe they've gotten a respect for your mom or something, that's why they don't bother her. During my last year in high school, our house became haunted. I could feel a strong negative energy from the sidewalk we moved. Did it follow you when you moved? A lot of them will, though. If they found somebody they want to attach to, they will follow. Because I've seen people, they'll move out of a haunted house and the thing will travel with them. A lot of times, unless it's attached to the property, then sometimes it don't. But if you bring something from that property with you that it's attached to, it's going to come with you. So that's good. It didn't follow you. But that's like when you go to an antique store or you go to yard sales and you're buying this stuff and you're bringing it home, you don't know what's attached to that. Especially an antique store when you're getting all these old antiques. If that person, when he was alive, they were alive and they were attached to that object and they were happy with it and they liked it and loved it, they're going to stay attached to that. So you're going to bring them into your house. And if your house wasn't haunted before, then you brought in a haunting. So that's why we tell a lot of people cleanse it before you bring it onto the property. I don't care if you have to stop down the road somewhere in the middle of nowhere and cleanse it and then bring it home. And then cleanse your car as well. I mean, that's like us investigators when we bring equipment into people's houses. Stuff can attach to our equipment. So we have to cleanse that. We take a risk every time we go out into people's houses. But yeah, I mean, cleanse the object before you bring it in the house because you don't know what you're bringing in. That's like the theory with Ouija boards too. I mean, people that play with Ouija boards when you're kids, I mean, you don't know who you're talking to. I mean, you're a kid, and I mean, they sold them as board games. I mean, there's people that play with them, nothing happens, but majority of the cases we have done that involve Ouija boards, they brought something in. Yeah, Julie's right. Same with candles or anything bought from any store, sage, aloe, etc. She's right. Has 5 limps in the attic. A human that unveiled himself. A trickster. Another thing in the basement under the stairs. Used to help a friend that did estate sales. Something felt funky. He didn't sell it or take it home. Yeah, that's a smart thing. But I mean, you can go somewhere, and if something could follow you, I mean, you can go into a haunted location and not know it's haunted, and something sees you and it's like, hey, I like this person. I'm gonna follow them home. So you never know what's gonna go on. I mean, that's like a lot of things are attached to the land itself. There wasn't a house there, say in the 1800s, and the house was built in like the 70s, but the land is 1800s, and there was something connected to it that maybe there was a house there prior time and they died in it. They're going to remain on that property and they're going to haunt your new house. Hey, Irene, welcome in. We're just chit chatting since my guest had to reschedule. So, just talking about the paranormal, letting people pick my brain on it. Irene's tuning in from Japan tonight. So, yeah, I mean, like my house here was built in 75, but the land itself is 1800s. And I mean, there is a confirmed death in my house, but my town was a military town. So, and back in 75, a tornado had ripped through this part of Missouri and tore a bunch of houses down. There was a man in the shower, and he didn't hear the tornado siren go off. Tornado come through, picked up the house he was living in, and they found him about 10 miles down the road in a rock quarry, still in the shower. So, and then there's been 2 other confirmed deaths in my house due to illnesses, but, this town I live in is pretty much a historical town. I work at a school district just up the road from my house that was built in 1909. There used to be a school there in the 1800s that had burned to the ground, which is extremely haunted. I have some videos also on my TikTok of that as well that you can check out. My house was built on an old homestead. Historian gave me the sketches, all the buildings. It can get kind of weird, nothing too scary. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times if they're just a regular spirit, I mean, I tell people this all the time. To them, you're trespassing. It's like if somebody were to break in your house, what do you want to do? You're going to want to hurt them to protect your family. Well, that's basically what they're trying to do is protect their property. Is that why I see a child hanging around? Yeah, it could be. It could be attached to the property itself. Uh, yeah, actually, I have. We had one come through here 2012 about midnight, but it wasn't a major one. It was a minor one. It come through my backyard, picked up a few things, dropped a few tree limbs, and then it went uptown and picked up a bunch of telephone poles and threw them all over town. Oh, okay. Yeah, we have a few here in this town that used to be funeral homes that are haunted. We got an old Victorian in town here that was a funeral home at one time, and then there's another little house that was built in the 1800s that used to be a funeral home that's supposed to be haunted. If you look up Breckenridge, Missouri, Caldwell County, you'll see some history. There's a photo actually floating around of a soldier standing up by our. It used to be a garage gas station. Somebody had taken a photo of a Civil War soldier in uniform standing there because the town is actually named after John C. Breckenridge, who was a general from Kentucky in the Union Army, I believe. And then we have the history of the Mormon massacres around here, like the Hans Mill massacre. And then we've got the far west, and then the Battle of Crooked River, which was another Mormon massacre site. And then down in Hardin, Missouri, we have a history of the Mormons crossing through there and getting slaughtered in the Missouri River going down to Lexington, Missouri. So Missouri's got quite a bit of history, especially with the Jesse James gang. You got the Native Americans, like the Osage Indians. There's mob history in Missouri. And then you got Missouri State Penitentiary, which is the bloodiest 40 acres. So we will actually be at the Missouri State Penitentiary June 1st with Ed and Lorraine Warren's team, which Tony Sparrow, their son-in-law, runs now. We're going to be there investigating with them. They're doing the Devil on the Run tour, so event, so you can actually go there and see some of the haunted objects from the museum. Yeah, Carol, there is a lot of history in Missouri, especially with the Civil War's been through here. You got the Battle of Lexington. There's Civil War battlefields in Springfield, Missouri. Yeah, it's nice to meet you as well, Linda. Thank you for tuning in. I'll be back on next it will be next Tuesday is my next show. I won't have one Friday because we're at a Paracon next weekend. So I'll have one next Tuesday, and my guest will be Ed and Lorraine's son-in-law, Tony Sparrow. So you tune in for that and pick Tony's brain. He's been in this a long time with his in-laws, Ed and Lorraine Warren, which are mine and my dad's cousin. But yeah, we've got a lot of history, like with the James gang. I live not too far from one of the banks Jesse James robbed with his gang. Thank you, Linda. We'll see you on Tuesday. But yeah, in Gallatin, Missouri, he had robbed the bank there, and that's where a lot of his gang members got shot up. And they hid out in Mooresville, Missouri, which is not too far from where I live. They hid out in a cave there. And we also got the Copeland murders, not too far from me. Ray and Faye Copeland. I don't know if you guys ever heard of them out here in Missouri. Ray was a farmer, and oh, you went to his house in Mooresville, Missouri? The son actually owns it now, and he had the house remodeled because he got tired of people coming out there. And I know they say if you go out there, he will greet you with a shotgun. Yeah, I've been out by his house. If most of you are not familiar with Ray and Faye, he was a farmer, and he would take these homeless guys in to do work on his farm. Well, he would sucker them in for money and guys down on their luck, and he would forge bad checks for cattle. Well, he started murdering these homeless guys that he would bring in. He'd take them out in different various locations here in Livingston County, and he would shoot them in the head with 22 and bury their bodies. And I know there's still a lot of bodies they still haven't found yet. There's still bodies missing out there. And his wife would take their clothes and make quilts out of their clothes so nobody would know nothing. And she actually lived to be an old lady, and she was in prison for several years and got out on parole, and she ended up in a nursing home because I guess she got dementia pretty bad. But their house actually still stands today where they used to live in their farm. The barns are all still there as well. And then we had the old mineral springs in Mooresville, Missouri, where a doctor had brought these patients there to this. It was an old hotel or something that he converted into a doctor's office. And he found this spring. These pigs had collar fever or something, and they would drink out of these springs, and the springs would cure the pigs. So he thought, oh, that would help these people that were sick with the fever. And they all started drinking out of this mineral spring. Well, they all had died in that hotel. Now the hotel sits abandoned. It's all run down, fallen in. And the doctor himself also died in that hotel from drinking that water. That water wasn't safe for him. And then we have the history of plantations out here, like Livingston County, Missouri, Chillicothe. They were all plantations. A good friend of mine's house, we had investigated. Yeah, Julie, I'll see who I can get a hold of. I mean, they probably won't let us in there because it's fallen in. It's not safe anymore, but we could probably do the property outside around it. I'll find out who we can get a hold of and get permission. And the cave is actually nearby that Jesse was in, too, out there. It's pretty well close by to that location. But also we have, like I said, the plantations in Chillicothe, Missouri. Um, we did a house that had confirmed slaves in it, and that house was extremely haunted. I captured an awesome piece of video footage out of that house. You can also see on my TikTok as well. Um, we had set the DVR up in the house, and we all had left to go out to dinner. So there was nobody in the house at that time. Well, the one I had set up in the back room, you see this window, the window, and then the curtains were probably about that far apart. And you see this figure come in the frame, kind of like that, look, backs out quick, comes back in real slow, and you can see the nose, the eyes, the mouth, and then just dissipates. And then we captured a woman's head in the garage in that house. The house is scary that the kids wouldn't trick or treat at it. And then right across the street's an old Victorian that has shackles still left in the basement from the slave. And then there's the old slave house in Kidder, Missouri, which is they had torn down in the 70s. The basement's still there, but the actual shackle's still in it. And then we got Slagle's mill out here as well, which Mr. Slagle, he was not a very nice man. I talked about him in a previous podcast with Brandon. He had murdered all his wives except for one, but they never had enough evidence to convict him on it. And his fifth wife, the brother of the wife, had found out that she had married Mr. Slagle and knew that he was a bad man. And he was afraid that his sister was going to get murdered, so he showed up to kill Mr. Slagle. Well, Mr. Slagle got the drop on him and had shot him with a double barrel shotgun in the back and buried him in the road up there. They never did find his body, but they had torn the bridge down that his wife was hanging. One wife was hanging from, and there is the cemetery up there as well that Mr. Slagle's buried in, which is haunted. And we captured some compelling evidence out of there, especially on thermal. Down by the woods, we had a humanoid figure staring at us, standing by the trees. You could see the deer on the one side, and then you could see the figure peeking out from the trees. But yeah, Missouri's loaded with history. I can dabble on and on about the history. That's like in Brunswick, Missouri, we have the cemetery, which they apparently the cemetery shift, the stone shift, the fences shift, trees shift. There had been a group that been out there and studied that, had did a diagram of the cemetery and noticed it had shifted. Yeah, Kat, welcome in. Yeah, I remember you telling me you've been out there. Uh, all we had all five of them come through. They're all buried out there in that cemetery. But Mr. Slagle was a judge, so they couldn't convict him on anything. They didn't have ballistics back then, or the stuff they do now to actually prove he had murdered four of his wives. But and that's like Hans Mill too. They had a militia ride through there, the Livingston County militia, because the Mormons had been taken over and they had stolen a cannon from the militia. The military, actually, they stole a cannon from. They were afraid the Mormons were going to start a war because they were taking over the whole area. So they militia rode in there the day before Halloween and just started opening fire on them. And about 17 of them they had killed, men, women, children, and they threw their bodies down a shallow well out there. And there was a little boy about 10 years old hiding in the blacksmith shop. They had broken in there. They found him hiding under the stove. Well, the one militia guy pulled out his gun and put it to the kid's head and was like, he was going to kill him. And the other militia was like, he's only 10 years old. And the guy said he'll grow up to be another Mormon. So they shot him. It was pretty bad and brutal. There were some that had made it out of there. A lot of them made it down south, but there was militia waiting for them down South Missouri. And then the head one, he had escaped. Him and his brother escaped. They made it north up into, I believe, Iowa, and then they made it to Illinois. And I think one was lynched in Illinois. The other one had made it back here. And I believe, I'll have to look again at the history, but I believe he was killed at the Battle of Crooked River over in Lawson, Missouri. So that's a little history on Hans Mill. I mean, we've been out there several times, and you can go out there at times. It'll be really quiet. You won't hear nothing. But if you go out on the anniversary of the massacre, like we did one year, we got a lot of activity out there. We even tried to recreate the battle. We played some gunshot sounds out there one time to see if it would pick up energy, and It didn't do nothing, but when we went out the anniversary, we didn't have to do nothing. It was real active. And we've done Missouri State Penitentiary. We've done Waverly Hills Sanatorium. That's another interesting place. If you guys put it on your bucket list, definitely go to Waverly. You won't be disappointed when you go out there. Even Missouri State Penitentiary too. You won't be disappointed on that. If you're new to paranormal investigating, I recommend you do like the ghost tour, which is only like 2 hours. Yeah, Carol, it is sad. A lot of battle. I mean, it it was really bloody out here, especially with the Civil War, like Marshall, Missouri. There was a Civil War battle in Marshall that the Confederates were based there, and they were ambushed in the town square, and a lot of them had died. And then, like down in Springfield, there's a lot of Civil War battlefields down there. The Civil War cemeteries, and there's one in Springfield, and I believe there's one in Lexington, Missouri. And then the history with the mob also, like there was a hotel that Al Capone actually owned out here. And then you had the Kansas City mob, which had traveled all over. They've been known to go up to North Missouri. There was a hotel that we did up in North Missouri that has mob history to it. Yeah, I heard about that. You guys had an earthquake. I heard they felt it in Connecticut too, because my cousin John Zaffis posted this morning about that. He was sitting in his office and felt the whole room in the house shake. And I saw my cousin Julie posted something too about it. Julie Zaffis did. I used to live in. I'm originally from New York State, and the one year we had an earthquake in New York. I was actually working on the golf course out there. I worked at Grosvenor Country Club out there, and we had a minor earthquake. I was actually down in the ground working on an irrigation line, and it shook the ground a little bit. Okay, I know where. I've been in northern New Jersey before, because I'm originally from southern part of New York. My town was actually the border of New York and Pennsylvania that I grew up in. Little town called Callicoon, New York. So yeah, I know where. I've been in northern New Jersey several times. Patterson, New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey, and New York's got its history too with a lot of stuff out there. Hey, Kyle, welcome in. But Kyle, if you got any questions, feel free to throw them up in the chat. We're just chit chatting here, letting people pick my brain on the paranormal. I'm telling some history. Hey, Tracy, welcome in. Thanks for tuning in. There used to be a tree at the mill, and you could occasionally see the body of the wife hanging from the large lower branch. Yeah, I've heard that. I never experienced that, but we couldn't. You can't get up to the actual mill part anymore because they blocked it off since they tore the bridge down. And there's houses all up in there now, so they don't allow people going up there. Hey, Kyle. Yeah, it's going good. Oh, nice. You gonna watch WrestleMania tomorrow? I haven't watched wrestling in a couple years, but yeah, I know you can't get up there anymore, and even the cemetery. one lady that lives up the road from the cemetery, she will throw you out if you're in there at night. Her daughter is actually buried in the cemetery right there, and there's kids that go up there all the time to that cemetery because they know the urban legend about Mr. Slagle. And her daughter had been killed in a drunk driving accident in high school by her ex-boyfriend. He had been drunk and he ended up T-boning him and killed her instantly. I'm in north central Missouri, Kyle. I'm about an hour from Kansas City. But then there's a historical cemetery out towards Bramer that's got an urban legend attached to it. The theory is if you see the blue light, your car won't start. There's screams that come out of the cemetery at night. So we had went out there to check it out. We were able to debunk a lot of the screams were due to coyotes being out there and bobcats because they got cattle in the back field back there. The blue light we did see, we weren't able to debunk that. It was floating along a headstone, and we walked up to it, but by the time we got to it, it disappeared. But we had a recorder sitting on the one of the headstones, and this was during broad daylight, and you could hear us all in the back of the cemetery talking. We were doing a spirit box session. You hear something walking through the grass coming up to the recorder, and it shut the recorder right off, and nobody could get past us because it's such a small cemetery. Have you ever toured around other states to do paranormal? Yeah, we did a location in Indiana. We did a private residence out there. We had been called in. We've done one in Ohio for a friend of mine. Um, we get calls to go all over the place. A lot of it, we've been South Missouri. We've done stuff in Oklahoma, Nebraska. We've done stuff in Kansas. In fact, we got called for a private residence in Kansas. We have to do. Um, we're also making a trip back to Ohio. We got an antique store to investigate out there. Hey, Michael, welcome in. Have you ever had a case that your team was split on, meaning half the team said it was a haunting, and the other half didn't? Yeah, yeah, we've had that. Have you found many evil, demonic? Uh, it varies. I mean, not everything is demonic. I mean, we'll get calls for demonic calls, and we actually go in, and it's you get a regular malicious spirit trying to act demonic. They're basically trying to scare that homeowner out of the house. Oh, nice, Tracy. Yeah, cat poop. Like I said, you'll have to come to Transcendence to hear about that topic from Julie. He tells it better. Oh, nice. But yeah, Michael, yeah, we've had words like that. And to answer your question, Kyle, yeah, I mean, some of it's psychological. I mean, you get people that are schizophrenic or maybe meth users, stuff like that. That's why we do substantial screenings before we go in a house. I do background checks on clients, find out what we're walking into, if they've got a history of violence, drugs, alcohol. I mean, you don't know. We did one case where the girl had been diagnosed schizophrenic. So that schizophrenic disability is hard. I mean, they think they're hearing voices. I mean, some medications, I mean, will make you hallucinate. Yeah, whenever, Michael, I have to get permission for that, especially if it's a private residence. Maybe we could do something in like a public place where we won't. I have permission to be there. We won't need permission from like an owner or something. Haunted items, I mean, as long as you can contain the energy with them. I mean, like Ed and Lorraine with their haunted museum before. I talked to their grandson Chris about before Annabelle, where they could contain the energy. They had her sitting in a rocking chair. Well, a priest had come in and challenged Annabelle and threw her across the room. Well, he ended up in a car accident shortly after. So you got to be very careful with haunted objects. Like keep them cased. Like John Zaffis, his museum, he's got them all encased, and you have it blessed. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having haunted items, but you're bringing haunted items in your home. If you can't contain that energy, you're getting your house haunted. I mean, I'm not against people purchasing haunted items. I mean, each to own. If that's your thing, I mean, go for it. But do your research and make sure you can contain that energy and keep it contained and confined. Because if you're going to bring something evil that's attached to it, something like Annabelle or Robert the Doll, it's going to hurt you if you don't contain that energy. I remember when you were live on TikTok when you did paranormal, you were at someone's house and it drained your battery and strange things happened. Yeah, I mean, us paranormal researchers, we carry an endless supply of batteries because that happens. They will draw off your batteries to gain energy. And the theory behind that is so they can manifest to a full bodied apparition, is why they drain your batteries, they'll drain your electrical, stuff like that. That's where it comes in the EMF theory with the paranormal of draining your batteries, tapping off your electrical. That's why, like, our bodies give off an EMF field because we're charged with electrical impulses to our brain. So that's why when we come in contact with spirits, we feel that drain, especially mediums that are open to it, more prone to it. I mean, us investigators, we get what they call paranormal hangover after an investigation because we're dealing with it for like sometimes 12 hours and we're drained substantially when we're done. And so all we want to do the next day is just sleep. And a lot of times it affects us weeks on end. We're still pretty drained. It takes a while to get your energy back up when it comes to that. But if anybody's got any more questions, we're at our 9 o'clock hour. I don't know if there's another show after us. I didn't see one listed. So I'll stay on for a little bit longer. So where I live, there's a place not far from me that is haunted there. It's a graveyard and a building. Sometimes when you drive by the building, you can see orbs or spirit and noises. Oh, awesome. I mean, orbs, I'm very skeptical on orbs. I mean, orbs is hard because of dust, bugs. I mean, if you can pull a face or out of an orb, you may have something. I mean, I've got a camera that actually debunks orbs. It's one side night vision, one side full spectrum, where you can actually, if a traditional orb passes, it'll pass through your night vision. If it's a traditional orb, it should pass through the ultraviolet spectrum. If it don't, then it's dust or bug. Do you do protection and grounding before investigation? Yeah, we do. We do quite a bit. We'll also do prayers before we go in. Before we leave a location, we'll do cleansings on ourselves, our equipment, our vehicles, because we do not want to bring nothing home. Especially if we're dealing with something dark and demonic, you do not want that following you home because that will hurt you. We did a case in Oklahoma, and the rest of my team couldn't make it because they all had to work. So it was an emergency call because they had kids in the home. So my dad and I went out. Well, we were took a break. We were sitting there watching the cameras, just letting the DVR do work. And the one DVR camera in the hallway started sitting there pulsating. So we kept watching it for a while, and it started getting worse. Started looking, and this big, tall, black figure appeared in it. The thing had to be about 6 foot tall. So I went back there to go check it out to see what it was. Well, this thing was standing there looking at me, and it come running straight at me, dropped down to probably about 5 foot, and just disappeared right at my feet. And I ended up with 3 scratches on my arm. Now, this client had been dabbling with the occult stuff, with the demonic stuff. He was doing Baphomet worshiping, and he had a book on witchcraft on how to kill people. They were using a Buddhist sing bowl for demonic rituals, and he had conjured this thing up in his house. And he had 2 little boys, and he had a 19-year-old daughter in this house. And I ended up I have the object. I took them from him. So he couldn't practice that anymore in that house after we did cleansing on it. But we did a cleansing on him, his family, and he ended up reverting back to his old ways. He's back doing it again. So, but yeah, I mean, messing with that stuff, if you're not experienced enough, I don't recommend challenging something dark. Leave it to your demonologists, your clergy, stuff like that. There's another place a few years ago I was with a friend which was very haunted. I took pictures, and on picture of my face there was a ghost around me, and my friend didn't touch anything, and the spirit shut the car off by itself. Yeah, I mean, you're trespassing to them. That's probably what it was. I mean, if you get a regular spirit that was a I tell everybody if it was a jackass in life, it's going to be a jackass in death. Especially if you're trespassing on their territory, you're not welcome there. You're a trespasser. You're a stranger to them. That's why I don't get that with people that go in and like to provoke. They go right off the bat. Tell me why you're here. You don't belong here. They get real forceful. That's the wrong thing to do. You're in their territory. Go in with respect. Introduce yourself. And talk to them like a normal. I mean, they were living once. Talk to them like a normal human being. I mean, yeah, you're probably gonna get cussed at if it's a jackass one. You're gonna get cussed at. That's common. But be respectful. Don't provoke. That's some dangerous things to be playing with. Yep, it is. And he was playing with it. And yep, amen, Julie. You're right. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, a lot of that stuff when you're playing, if you don't know what you're doing, you're playing with all this occult stuff and you haven't done your research on it. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about witches. Don't take it offensive. But if you don't know what you're doing with that stuff, you can really get yourself hurt. You start doing spells, and remember, everything comes back full circle. When you're doing a spell on somebody or something like that, and something negative, it could come back to bite you if you're not protected. I mean, tarot cards, if you're not familiar with them and you're messing around with them and you don't know enough about them and you're just playing with them, you can get yourself hurt with them as well. Same with a Ouija board. Spirit boxes too are the same thing. It's just like you're calling in to communicate with something. You're sending it that invite to come in and communicate with you. If you're sending that invite, it's like, hey, it's okay to come in and talk to me. It's okay to follow me. I'm that witch bitch. Absolutely. We're responsible for all. Yep, exactly. Damn, I started witchcraft. I don't know what to do, so I don't mess around. Yeah, Kyle, don't. If you don't know what you're doing, don't mess around with it. You don't want to get yourself hurt or get an attachment that you can't get rid of. And you're going to be calling someone like me in to try to get rid of it, or if it gets worse to where you're bringing in a demonic attachment, I mean, your demonic is going to make your noises, your knocks and threes, your it's going to happen at like 3:30 in the morning. And my cousin Ed's theory with the witching hour is between 9 and 6 a.m. It's not just 3, how they say it's 3 to 6. His theory was 9 to 6. I've been told someone can cast spells like voodoos. Yeah. Yep. Julie's right. Protection and cleansing constantly. Yep. It's all about intentions. You're 100% right, Tracy, and Julie's 100% right. Like us researchers that go out to help people, we take a risk every time we go out of something coming home with us, especially if we're going out on a demonic call. That demonic entity knows why you're there. It knows what you're trying to do. So it's going to go on the attack. Like I said, I've got scars on my arm from that one in Oklahoma where it went on the attack because it knew what I was doing there. I did another one in Kansas City where it was something, and this one we were able to prove there was something demonic in that house, and it shoved me into a door. It tried to push me down the basement stairs, but I wasn't standing close enough to the stairs, so it slammed me into a door. And my psychic medium friend was watching, and she said I could see it hanging around you, and it's like hugging you. And then, sure enough, bam! I get slammed into a door. That's why we wear a lot of protection medals. I wear a blessed Saint Benedict medal around my neck when we go out to locations. Even on the Paracons, I'm wearing my protection because we're around so much energy and people doing cleansings and people are coming in there with attachments on them and people sometimes think it's about what they say, but it's also about what you think they can come. Yeah, exactly. Yep. And Julie does a lot of cleansings on people. She pulls things off of people. I've been a witness to several of them with Julie, and it gets intense when she does it. I watched when I first met Julie, she did one on a lady at a Paracon that we were at, and it was right in front of my booth. The lady had come over to me, and she had been her son wants to be a paranormal investigator when he grows up. So he was over talking to me, and I was showing him the protection stuff where he saw my St. Benedict medal, and she started freaking out. So I called Julie over, and they did a cleansing right in front of my booth on her. All right, thanks for coming in, Kyle. We'll catch you later. But yeah, it gets pretty intense when you're pulling something off of somebody. I mean, we did a case where we watched an upside down cross get scratched into somebody's neck. So, and their eyes rolling in the back of their head. So, what you see on TV is not what we deal with in real life. A lot of it. A lot of it is fake and scripted for entertainment. But there is stuff out there like what we deal with when we're out helping people. It's a lot different than what you see on TV. I do not wear much in a way of protection around investigators. I know, but I do if I go to the store. Isn't that weird? Yeah, I mean, we have to. I mean, being exposed to it and stuff like that, and all the different energies, you have to be protected. I mean, because you don't know what you're dealing with, especially when we go to a house and they're calling us. It's something they think it's something demonic, and we go in there and it could be, like I said, just a regular malicious spirit because we're trespassing, they're trespassing, so they don't like it, and they know, especially when you remodel a house, you're changing what they're used to, so that's what kicks up activity in a house too, as well as remodeling, changing the atmosphere they're used to. Yeah, you never know. I mean, that's why I do background checks on our clients and a lot of history research because you don't know. I mean, when we make that initial phone call, them clients are calling us. There's a lot of stuff they hide from us. They don't want to tell us. And so when we get there, that's why I let my dad do the interviews on the clients because he has the ability to read people. He knows when they're lying to us and they're hiding something. Like one case we did where the girl was diagnosed schizophrenic. My dad even said to her, "Where's the tarot card?" He had been doing tarot readings for people online, and she didn't know what she was doing. And especially with her schizophrenic disability, she had 3 different decks of tarot cards. One was from China, one was from Japan, one was from Turkey, and she's reading from all 3 of them. Well, her father had found them, and he threw them away, and so she ended up keeping the devil card out of all 3 of those decks, and we took them. When I meet up with, say, Brandon, I know all is good. Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing in my home right now. Maybe that's why the Archangel Michael came in last Wednesday. Yeah. I mean, that's like we do a lot of cleansings for people too in houses. I mean, we do. It all depends on your cleansings. It all depends on what you're dealing with too when it comes to that. But a lot of people, homeowners, don't realize is you all have the power over it to take your house back. And people don't realize that, and I know you're scared. They do feed off of fear, but you have the power to take your house back from an entity, especially a demonic. But I know it does get hard because it's trying to pick its weakest target, especially if you've had trauma in your past life. You have, let's say, your kids are the weakest to it. So it's seeking out which one it wants. And then that's why you get the 3 stages, which is infestation. That's where it comes into your house and it's making your knock, and it's causing havoc, making your noises and stopping your clocks. And then it goes for oppression when it finds its target, and that's when it starts latching on, and then it starts making you irritable, talking different languages. You don't clean your house, clutter is the biggest notice, and then you get bugs like roaches, flies. You start getting the rotten meat smell and sulfur smell, and then you also get when it's starting to attach, you'll start getting bruises, you'll sleepwalk, sleep paralysis, your scratches and threes on your arm, and then when it finally takes over, and then it's full blown possession, and that's where you need clergy to come in and do an exorcism. There are people that I know well who won't go anywhere near without protection. You just have to be careful. Yeah, they got drop kicked out the window. Yep, they got rid of it for you. But usually, like us, when it gets possession, I usually call Farrah in on that one, and then she takes over because she works for the diocese office. Any exorcisms like that have to go through the diocese office because they have to log it through the state with the Vatican and stuff like that. So usually from there, Farrah takes it from there for us. We just go in and verify and document it. But that's like what tell our clients also, if you're experiencing that stuff like that, take pictures, send it to us. We tell them don't communicate with it, don't cuss at it, provoke it anyways, because you start provoking something dark, it's going to go on the attack, and then it's going to get hectic and worse for you. That's like people that try to cleanse their house themselves. They don't if they don't know what they're doing, they're going to trap that thing in there. It's going to go laying dormant, and once that stuff comes through, and all that, say you're using sage, and that sage smoke clears, and you've sealed all the windows and the doors, and you trap that entity in, it's going to get stronger, and it's going to go on the attack at you because you angered it. That's the same with provoking. You're provoking it, you're going to anger it. It's going to go on the attack. And that's one thing you don't want it to do. Thanks, Carol. I appreciate that. And and then when it goes on the attack, and that's when it's gonna start latching onto you for and then it's gonna end up possessing you. And that's what that's what you don't want. I've listened to a lot of lectures that Ed and Lorraine has done and stuff like that with the demonic, and followed them when I first started in this field. They I did a lot of research on the demonic, and I did lots of reading and research and following them, listening to Ed's lectures and stuff like that. And come to find out, being related to him, that I found out January of last year was mind blowing. I never knew all those years, and I've been doing this 30 years now. So thanks, Carol. I appreciate that. I mean, I'm just a regular person in the field. I mean, I don't claim to be anybody. I'm not a professional. I just go out to help people. That's what I got in this field for. I mean, I was haunted as a kid, and so that's what I wanted to do was help people. I mean, yeah, I've watched taps and all that, and it was pretty neat when they go into houses, but that's not what. Yeah, yeah, Tracy, surprise, yeah. But if it wasn't for my dad being related to him, it's through my dad's side of the family, me being related to Ed and Lorraine Warren and John Zaffis and Chris McKennell and Tony Spera. Yeah, there is a lot of people out there. I mean, when people ask me all the time about that, I tell them go with a team that's experienced. Get training first. Don't try to do this on your own. I I did a little bit. I've experimented with it on my own. I mean, a buddy of mine from high school, we would go out and we go to cemeteries, go to haunted places, abandoned houses that were haunted, and do stuff. And I learned the hard way. And then I met Rob Dermarest from Ghost Hunters International. I used to be a DJ back in from high school, and then through my early 20s, well into my 30s. And how I met Rob was he had heard my music, and he says he knew I wanted to get into the field and start a group. And so thanks for tuning in, Kat. We'll see you again. My next podcast will be Tuesday night. But so he made me a deal. He says, "You make me a mixtape for the road when I go overseas with GHI filming, and I'll help you get started in the field." So he got me in touch with Florida Paranormal, and his director Sean was running it. So she helped me, and Rob helped me get started, and here I am. I've been going ever since, and I formed a group back there called Beyond Life Paranormal Research, and that ran for I formed that in 2006, and that ran all the way till about 2013. I had a friend running it back there, and then she fell into some medical issues, so we shut that down. And I formed this one here in 2012 when I moved to Missouri. This one's been going ever since. So when we stay pretty busy, I mean, my phone rings off the hook like crazy for it. And we don't just stay in Missouri; we travel to different states and do it. So we kind of do like the interstate travel. And we're one of the few teams that'd be willing to check out something demonic besides Raven's Eye. And so that's why we get calls a lot for a lot of that stuff. And like I said, everything's not demonic. I mean, you get malicious ones. We usually know when we walk in the house what we're dealing with because you can feel a different energy shift when you walk in a house if it's something demonic or something regular. Yep. And Raven's Eye and us, we work together in most cases. We're getting ready to go out on one tomorrow night. Raven's Eye and we're going to Laredo, Missouri to work on a case out there, somebody's house, which we will be live that night, tomorrow night, if we have permission. So you'll be able to watch us. We'll be live on Beyond Life Paranormal Research Missouri's Facebook page tomorrow night. We're getting ready to test out AD's reverse sweep. Hi, Nikki. Welcome in. We're just chit chatting about the paranormal and let people pick my brain on the paranormal and stuff like that. We're probably going to stay on probably another 10 more minutes and then get off because I'm tired. I worked today. I've been up since 4:30 this morning. So, but yeah, tune in tomorrow. I will just keep watching the page. It depending on setup, how quick setup goes. We usually set up and then we go out to eat and then let the place calm down and then we come back and then we start investigating. Yeah, that's gonna be awesome to try out tomorrow night. That reverse sweep. Yeah, AD makes some kick-ass spirit box. We're testing out a reverse sweep spirit box that AD had made for Julie from Raven's Eye, where everything's in reverse. So if we get a spirit coming through that reverse sweep, then we know we're talking to a legit spirit because everything's going to be in reverse. So it's like playing a record backwards is what a reverse sweep is. So it's going to be sitting there just sweeping in reverse. So it's not going to be you're going to hear everything talking in reverse. So when a spirit comes through, it's going to talk in a regular sentence. And so that's going to be an interesting piece to try out. We are going to do the Estes method tomorrow night and try that out as well. See what we can come up with. Like I said, you can if you go on Jen Dorello's page, you can check out the Estes method we did in a house in Boonville, Missouri, which was pretty awesome and compelling evidence. I will warn you in the background of that video, you will see somebody walking around. That is not a ghost. That is Julie's husband, Chris. He was walking around with a meter. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. The Estes in the basement as well as reverse play. Yeah. Michael, he's good. He's getting ready to gear up and go with us tomorrow night to watch our cameras. But another cool place that we do is the haunted movie theater. Yeah, I'll give him your best. He's actually watching right now. But yeah, another awesome place we do is a haunted movie theater in Marshall called Marshall Cinema, which was actually on an episode of Dead Files. The reverse sweep, yeah, KD makes them and he sells them. Julie bought hers off of KD. I've got a thing coming up I'm getting ready to work on. I've got some designs. I'm getting ready to build some stuff, which is going to be a surprise. I'm working on the details now with it on some equipment I'm going to start building. It's it's actually gonna be a little different than what you see out today. So, but, yeah, the movie theater that we were doing a walkthrough when we first our very first investigation of the place, and my one team member and I, we were up in the projection booth up in Cinema 2, and my father was walking up, and something, like, ran through him and pushed him right to the floor. It was like trying to push him over the railing after my dad said it looked like he was after a child spirit, which we believe is, the one man that was shot and killed on the sidewalk. He had been messing with the manager's wife back in this would happen back in the, I believe, 20s, and the manager had said to him, "Look, if you're gonna mess with my wife, you take her and marry her." Well, the guy said, "No, you got a family. I'm not gonna break up your family." Well, they were at a get together across the street, and he went. The manager had went to the restroom. He come back out. Well, here the guy is messing with his wife again, trying to flirt with her, dance with her. Well, he come up and an argument started. They'd both been drinking, and the manager of the movie theater told him, "You keep messing with my wife, I'm gonna kill you. I already warned you." Well, the guy went to leave. Well, the manager followed him, got him across the street in front of the movie theater, pulled out a 38, shot him point blank, and the guy died right there on the sidewalk. This was in Marshall, Missouri. It was on a episode of Dead Files, I think season 5, episode 11, I believe, called The Madhouse. We're the only team since Dead Files to go in there and investigate. She don't let teams in there. She only lets us in there because she doesn't want stuff being brought in there and stirring it up. And because Frank Cello, which was the man that was shot and killed, he is not very friendly. He, if you come to Transcendence, if you're in Missouri and you come to Transcendence in Columbia next weekend on Sunday when I talk about demonology, I will show you a partial possession video of somebody getting partially possessed in that movie theater from him. So he's not to be taken lightly in there. He is an intelligent. He will hurt you. He will grab you. He's actually grabbed the owner's father before. He's the one that pushed my father down. And then there's Nellie Price, who had been kidnapped from there. She was waiting for her date, and her date she went missing for 17 days. And so they ended up finding her 17 days later in the Missouri River, strangled to death. And that was the last place she had been seen, about 100 feet from the movie theater. So she haunts the place as well. And she's another one that she doesn't like the living. She will she will throw things. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. She will she's pinched her staff on several occasions, and she likes to throw temper tantrums. She will bang on pipes. She will bang on the walls. She likes to frequent the basement a lot down in the movie theater. And then there's another one they think, which he had a hotel right across the street from the movie theater. His name was Ming. He had this porter was a black man. He was a well-respected black man in Marshall, and he worked for him. He wanted to get paid. Well, Ming didn't want to pay him. Ming wasn't going to pay him, and that black guy said, "I'm not leaving till you pay me." Well, Ming had pulled out a gun and shot the porter in the side of the face. Well, Porter lived for 2 days in the hospital and then finally died from his gunshot. And the cops that came to get Ming, they arrested him. They locked him in the mental institution. Well, he had escaped the mental institution, made it back to his hotel in Marshall. Cops had found out he was back in town. He ended up turning the gun on himself and shot himself right there in the hotel. So they think he's another one that's possibly haunting the movie theater. And then there's a child spirit in there, which we haven't figured out yet why there's a child in there. But there's also tunnels in that movie theater that go under Cinema One, that go under the floor, which there could have been some mob stuff going on in Marshall. We don't know the whole history on that. Yeah, definitely come see me, come see Chris and Julie, the broom closet. Julie gives awesome bone reading. And yeah, there's healers out there. I mean, it's gonna be a pretty good convention next weekend at Transcendence. Angie and that group, they do a real good job and very respectful, very nice to you. I met Angie in Independence at a Paracon, and she was awesome. So yeah, definitely come out. And then, like I said, we're at one April 27th and 28th in St. Joe, the Omnia Paracon. It's at the Stony Creek Hotel in St. Joe. And we'll be there. Julie will be there, the broom closet. Um, Eventually, EVP will be there. Uh, KD will be there. Um, Brandon will also be there. So Supernatural, the whole Supernatural Link crew will be there. L&M Paranormal will be there. Omega Paranormal Investigations will also be there as well. I heard Earthbound Paranormal is going to be there, that own Lafayette Row in St. Joe. There is also a paranormal investigation going on too. I heard after hours on from that convention. I think they're doing Lafayette Row, and I think they're doing Glore Psychiatric. For some reason, I just heard that teaches the other spirits to do things that people when they go. Yeah, heard some aid will be there. Yeah, and KD will be selling some equipment. He'll be selling some spirit boxes and stuff, static nodes, and I haven't seen the speaker schedule. I know EVP Paranormal, they will be their featured speaker there. I know that, and then there's another gentleman speaking, but I don't know the whole speaker schedule. They're still working on details yet. But Transcendence, I will be guest speaking at 11, I believe. Julie's speaking in the afternoon sometime, and then again at 5 on Saturday. Then I'm guest speaking at 11:30 on Sunday, and then Julie, that is guest speaking later that day too. Oh, you'll be in Ohio, yeah. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap up, and I thank you all for joining me tonight. My tune in next Tuesday. There won't be a podcast Friday because I'm headed to Jeff City Friday and then to Columbia for Transcendent. So we'll be doing one Tuesday night instead. My guest next week will be Ed and Lorraine's son-in-law, Tony Sparrow. We're going to be talking about the Devil on the Run tour because they're going to be out here June 1st at the Missouri State Penitentiary. It's $139 is the event, and you can come out and investigate with the Nesper team as well as my cousin Tony. See the Shadow Doll and a few of her haunted object friends from the Warrens Museum. Annabelle will not be out here. They don't travel across the country with Annabelle. But the Shadow Doll, you will see her. So yeah, that's going to be an awesome event. We'll be talking about that. Then the Warrens Paracon coming up in September, which will be at Gettysburg this year. They'll be on to talk about that, and what guests will be out there. Bye, Tracy. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Tracy. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow, Julie. Hey, text me and we'll schedule a time when we're gonna meet up. All right, everybody. Tune in next week with myself and Tony Sparrow. It should be a good show. We'll probably talk about a little bit about Ed and Lorraine as well. And I will see if I can get him to do his spiel that he used to do for the Seekers of the Supernatural for you guys. You too, Tracy. Yeah, we'll definitely be live tomorrow night. I'm sure they will give us permission because we do not show the when we go live on a location, we do not show the client. Like if we go to take a break, we stop the live, and then when we go back to investigate again, we'll start the live back up. We don't show clients or anything for the confidentiality reasons. That's why you won't see their names, their address, none of that stuff. We have to try to keep that confidential as much as possible with them. I mean, there's some clients that'll let you post stuff, but we try to be respectful to that. So again, thank you for joining me tonight, and we will see you all next week. Also, like I said, come out to Transcendence if you're in Missouri and check us out, and we'll have a booth. Check out Raven's Eye, get a bone reading from Julie. You won't be disappointed. She's also a Reiki healer. She sells a lot of stuff, protection spray. Make sure you come check out everybody out there. Even in the end of April at the Omnia event, check out everybody. Everybody's awesome. Uh, uh, Mysterious Mike and Sam will be out there also with their Estes Method booth. And I know they do raffles as well to win a trip to one of their events. They do a lot of haunted locations and stuff, and they book them events for people. So make sure you come through and check that out. And again, thank you for joining me. Stay humble, stay safe out there. We will see you all next week.